Live from New York, it's Ask This Engineer.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Ladyada, with me, Mr. Ladyada on camera control. It's that time of year. We're wrapping up the year. We're kind of sliding in to the end of 2021. We still got plenty of cool stuff to show you on this Ask an Engineer show. Next hour full of hacking, making, software engineering, coding, videoing, and more. We're broadcasting here from the Adafruit factory in downtown Manhattan. We're not wearing masks because nobody else is around. We're keeping it safe, but at this moment, we're the only two people here.
We have to do those announcements to make sure we're setting a good example, but also we like being transparent, telling everybody how we're running this thing here in New York City.
All right, so why don't we kick it off? Mr. Ladyada, tell them what's on tonight's show.
On tonight's show, the code is resurrections, and the reason why is... So as soon as we're done with the show tonight, we're going to go and watch The Matrix 4 Resurrections. So that's the code. It'll help me remember the what date it is and stuff like that. So that's the code. 10% off in Adafruit Store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Because I can stay up late tonight. Watch The Matrix. At Adafruit Live series of shows, we're going to be talking about what we do during the week here and more, including show and tell. Time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, news going on in the maker world, engineering world, and more. Help wanted. We're going to stop by the Adafruit jobs board, jobs.adafruit.com, where you can post your skills. Or if you're a company, hire the best people in the world because that's where they're hanging out on the Adafruit site. Got some made in New York City factory footage, some 3D printing, including a cool speed up video. We got INMPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. We got a cool one this week from TDK. Got some new products, got some top secret. We're going to answer your questions. That's right. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. We can join all 32,000 of us. We can hang out all the time. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer. Okay, Ladyada. So let's do one little quick thing, and then we'll get into paying the bills and more. So we do these every couple of weeks or so. The spike is back here in New York City. So back in October, we purchased a ton of rabbit tests because we're like, hey, this isn't over. There's going to be a spike probably right before Christmas. And here we are. It's not even fun to predict the future anymore because you're just trapped in this glass ball. So we've been able to get our team members rapid tests while they're waiting for some of the longer line tests here in New York now, because it's back to that. So far, so good. We haven't had anyone test positive. There are some people in the external circles, like households of family members or friends, or they go to an event and something comes up. So it shields up again. We've been wearing masks even before all of this. We decided, let's just do that anyways. All the team members are vaccinated. Everyone has paid time off for boosters and more, also flu shots. And so that's how we've been running stuff, and it's been working out for us, but I understand not every company is the same as Adafruit. So in New York, some of the things that we decided to do was we had 3 events we can go to. We decided to only go to one. It was our Visit Her Folks, because out of all the things, that was the only one that was important to us, so we just minimized our risk profile.
Yep.
And who cares? There's things that we could do later for sure, but seeing friends, family, especially when it was a trip that we needed to take, we haven't taken for a long time, that was the one we said, well, this is how we'll spend our risk. And we have COVID tests and everything. We're all boosted. So that's what we're doing. That's what a lot of the folks at Adafruit are doing. So if you ever have any questions about how we're doing stuff, you can always email me, pt@Adafruit, and we have no problem sharing all the stuff we're doing because we're still here, still standing. Speaking of, if you want to purchase stuff that will go directly into our employees' paychecks, because we're about to do our profit sharing bonus for the end of the year, you can also get free stuff. Ladyada, what do they get for free when they're shopping on the Adafruit site?
I'm glad you asked. We still have our pink feather promotion going on. If you order $99 or more, you get a free pink feather RP2040. This adorable board is just like our RP2040 feather, but it's in pink. How can you not love that? $149 or more, you get a free STEM IQT board. We have a couple different ones in stock. Depending on if you make an account, we'll make sure to send you a different one each time. Otherwise, it's random, and we've got sensors and controllers and accelerometers and drivers and ADCs and stuff like that. UPS ground shipping is free for orders of $199 or more. That's free ground shipping in the continental United States. $299 or more, you get a free Circuit Playground Bluefruit. We're still waiting on our Circuit Playground Express parts to come in to finish making another batch of CPXs. But in the meantime, we'll give you a CPB instead, which has Bluetooth Low Energy and runs the NRF52 840, great for wireless projects.
Okay, and don't forget, the holiday schedule is here. Go to adafruit.com. It's all over the site, constantly, always, forever. Basically, it's December 22nd. Good luck getting anything anytime before Christmas. But please continue placing your orders. We'll let you know exactly when anything's going to ship. Just make sure you know that it probably will not get there by Saturday. You could try, but probably not, and it's something that's outside our control. So we do a live series of shows. We just did show and tell. We had some Adafruit folks. We had Tim from the guy. We had Liz. We had some retro stuff.
Yeah.
And more. And then Jepler showed a project, Birdbath, IoT Birdbath. And then we also discussed teapots that were rendered.
Yes.
So do check this out.
And non-rendered.
And non-rendered. And then I was talking about our idea. Oh, my idea. Sometimes I have to take the blame and/or credit for some of these. I thought we could call IoT things wicked smart because we just got back from Boston, and instead of calling it machine learning or AI or computing on the edge or TinyML, we would just say, "Oh, that thing over there is wicked smart." What do you think? No? Okay. All right. Well, you could tune in for all this excitement and my ideas and more on Sundays.
You have great ideas.
Yeah, on Sundays, we do Disc of Ladyada. Ladyada, we do part 1 and part 2. What was part 1 of Disc of Ladyada on? Oh, sorry, we didn't do it on Sunday. We did it on Monday.
We did it on Monday because we were out of town on Sunday. So Disc of Ladyada, I showed off the final Rev C of the TFT ESP32S2 Feather. Fixed a couple things with the power supply and showed off my power analysis test where I go into ultra low power mode, light sleep mode, and normal mode. So showing that I can get down to 80 microamps of current.
Okay, then we do a segment called The Great Search, and this is kind of the more popular thing we do now because there is a part shortage, and you showed how to find parts. What did you try to find this week?
Okay, what I found this week was for the Scorpio board, I needed an 8-channel, 3 to 5 volt logic level shifter, and I wanted one that had TTL inputs. I wanted one that was very, very small, and so I showed how, when I was designing the board, how I spec'd and located the correct logic level shifter. And hopefully I'll get the board put together. I'll make sure it works. But picking out TTL logic is a couple tips and tricks. So I talked about those.
Okay, and folks should stay tuned to the top secret because we have a new board announcement that we're going to show off. Scorpio.
Yes.
It's a new board.
Yes.
From Adafruit. Okay.
Yes.
JP's product pick of the week on a hiatus this week because JP is on vacation. So do tune in to JP's show next week. And or the week after, check your local listings, as they say in the biz. But we have a little neat snippet. I'm going to play these back to back. One is from JP's workshop show. This is a macro pad thing that he was working on. And then I'm going to show the latest Parsec. That's where we show some cool CircuitPython based projects, code, and more that JP shares with the community. So I'll see you on the other side. First up, JP workshop highlight, and then CircuitPython Parsec.
For the CircuitPython Parsec, I wanted to show you how you can use pretty much any GPIO pin on your microcontroller as a ground pin. Why would you want to do this? Well, sometimes you want to plug things in. Like you can see here, I've got a couple of LEDs with resistors plugged in, and they're on either side of a little cutie pie board. There's only one pin marked as ground on this. I'll point at it right there. That's the ground pin. Well, you can't share that too easily with a couple of these leads. If you're going into a breadboard, great, but sometimes you just have header pins on your board and you want to plug things into them. What you can do in this case, if you don't want to kind of crowd things in, is pick another available GPIO pin and set it at a low value, which essentially acts as a ground. Now, this isn't as high a current ground as the ground pin, so you only want to use this for things like LEDs and buttons and switches, nothing higher current. But it works really easily and really well. So watch this. You can see here in my code, I'm setting up by importing the library for board and digital I/O. Then for this red LED, I'm simply setting the pin that the high side is plugged into, which in this case I'm plugging into the RX pin. So I set that to be a digital in-out pin with the direction set to output, and I set the value to true. It lights it up because it's setting that pin high, so we're getting 3 volts out of that roughly. On this other side, what I'm going to do is same sort of thing. I'll set up one of the pins, in this case the TX pin, for the high side of the LED, the positive side. But then to fake a ground, what I'm doing here is I've created a variable called fake ground pin, and here I'm setting up a digital pin. It's a GPIO pin A1 in this case, and I'm setting its direction to output, but then I'm keeping its value low. I'm setting the value to false. This essentially acts as a ground pin. So if I hit save now, what you can see is our green LED lights up as well, even though I didn't have to clutter things up by using a single ground pin. And so that is how you can fake a ground pin on your microcontroller inside of CircuitPython. And this has been your CircuitPython Parsec.
Okay, on Friday, there's not going to be a deep dive with Scott. However, Funny Guy Tim is going to be taking over that slot for this Friday and possibly next Friday. So stay tuned to our Twitters, to our YouTube, to our Twitch, to our LinkedIn, to our Facebook, our Meta. And let's see what else. I think it's live on Twitter as well. Probably a couple of places. But do check that out. Time travel. Let's look around in the world. Makers, hackers, artists, engineers, news that's going on, and stuff that we have to deal with on a regular basis that, you know, I just got to deal with sometimes. So as a service to the entire community out there, on adafruit.com/NFT, by the way, we don't do NFTs. It's a gallery of nice, friendly t-shirts. We have text for those of you who do things like public speaking, or those of you who do live streams, or those of you who have to sign photo releases for all sorts of stuff. And the reason why we have this text up there is because there's lots of times where someone will take your photo or have you in a video, and then all of a sudden you wake up and now you're an NFT. And we knew this was coming, and for years, even before there was such thing as NFT, or it wasn't even called NFTs, we always make sure that we had our intellectual property lawyers look at anything that our Ladyada or me or our team has to sign. And so basically we put the text up. So adafruit.com/NFT, scroll down to the bottom, past the amazing t-shirts that our team has that they collect. And take a look. The short version, or I'll just read it. Speaker specifically reserves her rights of publicity and privacy and expressly prohibits the use of her name, image, and likeness apart from use in the live session. And works created promote the live session. Videographer, photographer, streamer may not license the content for use in advertising or marketing of a unrelated party's products and services without prior written consent. So basically, it's just like, hey, just talk to us before you do something. And no matter what we do, so we got blamed for, I'll get to that in a second. We got blamed for Radio Shack. We didn't buy Radio Shack. We get blamed for everything, because why not? Women online, blame her.
Super fun.
Yeah, super fun. And that's what a lot of dudes are doing. So anyways, we have this, and instead of just being mean and crummy and trying to dunk on people, we're trying to do a helpful thing, which is, this is text that we use. It's not legal advice, but it's text we use. This will probably save you later. So I've been reaching out to some of the folks who are a little surprised to find themselves for sale for ETH, and so far so good. It's been working out. Next up, this is from Q. Q's in Texas. She just moved from New York to Texas, and she sent me this thing. She just wants to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Adafruit. This Quali is this friend of mine. So I just wanted to put this on her. I said, hey, can I put this on our show? And she said, yeah. Next up, adafruit.com/cats of engineering now has an RSS feed.
Yes.
Because that's what we do. Really excited about that. If you need help with that, you can email me, pt@adafruit.com. This is a screenshot of my newsreader for my Mac that I happen to like, which is NetNewsWire. Reminder, we did not buy Radio Shack. We have nothing to do with RadioShack.com. Please stop blaming us online for anything to do with Radio Shack. We have nothing to do with it. We interview the new owners of Radio Shack every couple years because there's always new owners of Radio Shack every couple years. This is my sign. It's from this sign that we bought off the side of a Radio Shack that got scrapped because, Radio Shacks went out of business a few years ago. And it says hack, and that's the back of my desk. So anyways, nothing to do with it.
Cool sign.
Didn't buy them. Stop blaming us. Y'all are jerks. You're mean guys online. Stop it. Move on. Okay, this is from 1999, Ladyada. We're going to get this running. This is your, you have a text adventure that you made.
For 6001, it
Where
was
you
the
were at MIT.
final project for freshman computer science class. I wrote a text adventure, which was, the assignment was to write a text adventure. Little did they know that I'd always wanted to write a text adventure. So I went all out and I wrote a text adventure, and we're going to post the files up, but they're in MIT Scheme, which turns out that...
you have to figure out how to get that running.
We have to get that running, and you think, well, why don't you just run MIT Scheme? That's available from GNU. It turns out whatever changes they made to Athena Scheme is slightly different. We're getting there. I mean, we got it to load, and now we have to kind of... There's some things about like whether a list is empty when it's empty or it doesn't exist. I don't know.
I think it's cool that this is like Ladyada Archaeology, where I'll be able to...
some of the oldest code I've written.
Really?
Available. Yeah. I mean, I think I could dig up some older code, but this is, I unfortunately lost a hard drive that had a lot of... Before Dropbox, it's like when you lost a hard drive, you really did lose everything. But very early code. But it's actually a funny game.
Yeah, I'm going to upload it to archive.org. I've not had luck with archive.org recently, putting stuff on there, but we'll see. I will keep trying. Next up. So AdaBox, 1 year of AdaBox is possible for you to get. We have less than 50 slots open. I get an email notification. Don't forget, it is AdaBox edition. So that means the holiday edition, which we would normally try to get out by, Christmas, is going to be shipping during a season. This season happens to be winter. This will be out January, February. Please, please, please get it out. There's going to be none left. It's the closest thing to like back orders that we have. It'll be for a new product. It'll be really cool. And I think it's going to be one of our best ones yet. Adabox.com. Okay, Help Wanted. We are putting everybody back to work in this country. We're trying. Help Wanted, jobs.adafruit.com. There are 3 jobs on the jobs board. There is an audio circuit, it's contract. There's remote instructor for summer engineering program, that's Blue Stamp Engineering. There is open source CircuitPython driver for NFC chip, must include point-to-point communications, and another remote instructor position, which is for a summer engineering program. Do check this out, jobs.adafruit.com. We moderate all of them. We look at all of them. We make sure they're not scammy or sketchy or whatevers. And so do check it out. Or post your skills if you're looking to make some more coin. And I mean, that is a physical money thing, not the other stuff. Okay. Let's do some Python on hardware news, Ladyada. Mm-hmm. Okay, this week I'm going to talk about the PyCast that the team did with Tom's Hardware soon. I thought this was kind of cool. This is a retro RPN calculator emulator using the PyPortal Titano with CircuitPython. And the user interface is mostly done. You're going to be able to see it later in action, but I like people building their own calculators.
I like
It's
the little
kind of
gradient
the
background. It's
steps.
cute.
Yeah, it's the steps of building all of your own equipment. Topping your tree with a glowing, can you say this word?
No. Rhombic dodecahedron.
Yeah. Anyways, it's powered by CircuitPython.
Okay.
We have some guides on upgrading to the latest version of Raspberry Pi Buster. Sorry, from Buster to Bullseye. We have some Lego plates that we've posted. We have a call for Moo translations. Do check that out. Also, breaking news, there's a new version of Moo. It's available for code with .moo. Next week, the guest editor, I'm back. The restraining order's over. No, I'm back. I'm back to doing the newsletter. Originally, it was...
No, Anne's been doing it,
yeah,
but,
Anne's been doing a great job.
and great job.
I promise you it's going to... So if y'all know me, I did Hackaday, and I did Engadget, and I did Make Zine, a lot of online authoring. And if you like black and white photos, if you like that style, if you
Lowercase.
if you like lowercase, if you like things a little edgy, a little artsy,
A little gothy.
you might like this newsletter that I'm doing.
Yeah, the gothiest, the edgiest, the lowercaseiest.
Yeah. And if you want a preview of some of the stuff, you can go to my personal Twitter, twitter.com/PTerone, and you can look at drawings or photos.
Parrots.
And you
Cockatoos.
can say mean things to me and dunk on me.
Or you can enjoy the art.
Or you can enjoy the art
Look at birds.
and look at birds and some medical tests and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. I got some x-rays. Everything's fine. So next up, what I did want to show and talk about is keyboard.
Oink, oink.
Yeah, tick, 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 tick. So keyboard is what we're calling a whole series of keyboard-based products from Adafruit. So we have a KB2040, and it's the Pro Micro form factor. And the kind folks at Tom's Hardware had Dan and Jeff and Scott on the show that they do. So Ladyada, what's the big deal about this Pro Micro keyboard thing?
Well, the RP2040,
Why is it a pig?
because it's a keyb, but we don't want to call it keyb because a lot of people could say keyb, so we want to call it keyboard, which is a little pig with a key as its nose. The KB2040 is an RP2040 based board, so it's using this extremely fast, very powerful chip from the Raspberry Pi Foundation, their first microcontroller, and we put it into a Pro Micro form factor with 20 GPIO pins. We break out D+ and D- as well. So you can also, use it for advanced USB configurations. And the idea here is that you can use this design in existing macro pads and keyboards and upgrade it to use CircuitPython or MicroPython or Arduino. And it's a big upgrade from the 32U4 that a lot of people use for keyboards. It runs out of memory very easily. The 32U4 really only has 2K of RAM, 32K of flash, whereas this chip has 8 megabytes of flash and 256 or 264K of RAM. So a ton of memory, and it's very fast, like 133 megahertz dual core.
Okay.
Right now there isn't QMK support, but I think it's coming. I think people are working on QMK support because so many people are building RP2040 based boards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, catch the whole thing. I condensed this down to like 20 seconds, but it's about 30 minutes long, and the entire crew's there, and you'll be able to learn all about this and more. It's a deep dive, as they say in the biz.
Oh, it's also $1 less. I wanted to make the KB2040
it's
cheaper
$1
than
less.
the micro, the Pro Micro. But it has all the stuff you would want, USB-C.
And then I'd say our big news for the week in the world of CircuitPython and more is PiLeap app is available in the App Store. Congratulations,
Yay.
Trevor and Antonia and Scott and Kenny and Marcos and everyone who's been working on this. We have a guide. We have a blog post. It's in the App Store. And I'll get to one little note in a second. When you go, you can open it up. You can see all of the screenshots. You can get the description and more. Will we have an Android version? Yes. Don't be mean about it. Every single time we have an Android version, and then only 2 people download the Android version of something, but leading all the way up until that, they're just mean. So stop doing that. It doesn't help the other Android users. So anyways, we're doing this one first. Expect an Android version down the road, but we also have other ways to get things on Bluetooth hardware.
You can also use you can use
from Android, from
Chrome web browser.
Yeah, from all sorts of things. So we're going to make sure you're able to do everything all the time, everywhere, from multiple devices. That's kind of our jam. But there's this weird thing that comes up every single time, no matter what app we do. We released an Android version, and someone said, "Do you have an Android version?" I'm just like, "Are you kidding me? It's an Android version." And they're like, "Oh yeah, sorry. I'm just used to asking that. Please don't do that." So that's everything in the world of Python on hardware. We deliver these to your inbox every single week. Get the newsletter that I'm going to be writing very soon. You can go to adafruitdaily.com. Search around. We're the only site that I know of at this point that respects Do Not Track. It's a separate website for newsletters. You can't get spam from us. You can try, but we're just not going to do it. And you go to Adafruit Daily, not adafruit.com, to get any of our newsletters. We wanted something completely separate, so no one could ever say, y'all are spamming me. We just don't. Don't have those pop-ups, don't do anything. And that's Python on Hardware News this week. That's what we're doing. Okay, Ladyada, we're an open source hardware company. I think Anne posted this up, or is posting it up. It is the impact of open source software and hardware on the technological independence, competitiveness, and innovation in the EU economy. Check it out. It's a PDF. You can download it, you can share it, you can read the summary and more. Don't know if they're doing one for the US yet, but this is EU, so do check it out, and you can see what's going on with open source hardware and software and its impact in the EU. Speaking of, we have 2,601 guides. That's how I know we're an open source hardware company, because we got all these guides and code and stuff like that. Ladyada, what is on the big board this week?
Okay, we've got that guide for the, you saw a little video from JP on making an interface for doing color correction on images. So we showed how to plug together various STEM QT boards to make a no solder control panel. We've also got a guide on, can you make the...
Do you want...
Well, I can't read the text.
You want it bigger?
Yeah, can you do that? The RGB matrix for CircuitPython guide, Jepler updated it. I think he added the RP2040 feather and the RGB matrix feather wing to show how to use it. Or maybe it was the ESP32S2 Metro with the shield. I don't remember, but we had another page. We've also got a guide on the PiLeap app.
We do. We also have these.
Kattni started out the guide for the QT Py ESP32S2. There's more to come. Kattni's on vacation. But we got some files up just because people are always asking for schematics and pinouts and files. So that's up there. Carter did a guide on making a DIY USB Trinky that requires no soldering to make a DIY air quality monitor with humidity, temperature, barometric pressure, and CO2. And then TAC wrote a quick guide on taking our NR52840 boards, whether that's a feather or a dongle, and turning it into a BLE sniffer. And you can install the firmware with UF2, which is super awesome, because you don't need to use a JTAG or JLink JTAG interface to load the firmware. You can just drag and drop it. There's a couple extra steps because the soft device needs to be updated as well, but he has written everything up for you. So if you have an old blue fruit feather and you want to turn it into a sniffer, here's a tutorial on how to do that.
Okay. And it wouldn't be a celebration of open source hardware without the place that makes it. Here, Adafruit, let's look at some factory footage. Ladyada.
Yes.
And it wouldn't be main New York City factory footage without a time lapse from the Disney headquarters. It's gone from large to loud. That's its thing now. Initially, it was just large, and now it's very loud. And then one other note, because I have to fill up our show with things so I can send links to people later. So we don't have hand models. Any hands that you see in any of our photos, it's people who work at Adafruit. Some of them have cool tattoos and scars and nails and all sorts of stuff. These are real people who really work here. Stop saying we have like actors and hand models and no one really exists and birds aren't real and stuff like that. Okay, 3D printing. You want to do these back to back later?
Yeah, let's do them back to back.
Okay, we're going to do these back to back.
INPI.
We've got the cool project that Pedro did this week, and
Yes.
then we're going to do the speed up of the most recommended masks to wear now that'll keep you safe from everybody else.
From variants and people who may have variants.
Yes, so stay tuned for part 1, which is the project, and then part 2 is the mask that everyone should print out and give it to their family and friends this holiday season.
Hey, what's up folks? In this project, we're making a visual light display with NeoPixels. We designed a lamp with edge-lit acrylic and added NeoPixel LEDs. It looks like a frame-by-frame stop motion when each pixel is lit up one at a time. We thought it'd be fun to engrave some festive designs in different shapes. The acrylic panels are swappable, so you could use this to make all sorts of creative animations. For this project, we have it powered by the CircuitPy RP2040 running CircuitPython. It uses just a single strip of NeoPixel LEDs with a total of 8 1/4-inch thick acrylic panels. We engraved some snowflakes and letters, but you could do all sorts of fun arts and graphics. For any NeoPixel project, we like to use CircuitPython because it's easy to use the LED animation library. We strung together a few chase animations using the animation group module, with each one having a different color. We set the timing to 1/4 of a second so each panel has a little bit more time to be seen. The LED animation library makes trying out different settings really fast and easy. The LED strip is fitted into a 3D printed holder with each LED fitting into a little cavity. Our 3D printed holder keeps the LEDs isolated so the light doesn't leak into each other. The acrylic pieces feature tabs that are press fitted into slots that are on a separate holder. They're placed directly over the LEDs so they're nicely edge lit. The parts are made with PLA filament and they can be printed without any support material. All you need to build this project is a strip of NeoPixel LEDs and the CircuitPy RP2040. The bottom cover features a built-in holder for the CircuitPy and has special edges that snap fit into the 3D printed case. Each piece of 1/4-inch thick acrylic features a 20mm tab for slotting into the 3D printed holder. The assembly is modular with the parts snap fitting together. I designed the holders for the LED strip and acrylic to be parametrically driven. This means updating the pixel count will add or remove slots from the design so it's easily scalable. The CAD files are free to download, links are in the description. We hope this inspires you to check out the CircuitPy RP2040 and CircuitPython for your next light up project. From everyone at Adafruit Industries, happy holidays and happy new year.
Don't forget on Wednesdays, learn how to make all this stuff and more. I'm Pedro, 3D Hangouts. Okay, Ladyada, it's almost time for, you guessed it, INPI, but first up, the code is Resurrections because it's Matrix 4 tonight. That's what we're going to watch right after this. All right, let's do this. Ready?
Yep.
Eye on MPI.
INMPI, brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. Thank you, DigiKey. Every single week we show the latest, the greatest, the eye on new product introductions. This week it's from TDK. Ladyada, what is this week's NPI?
Okay, this week's INPI, like we mentioned, is from TDK. We had them for their little sensor bugs, so this is they're coming back. Do have one of the coolest logos. We see it in Times Square, the TDK sign is pretty sweet. This is, I wanted to make sure I get the part number right, the BCS 4430B6. This is a series of ultra-thin, ultra-flexible solar cells for use with indoor electronics to power your IoT, your portable or wearable electronics using
smart stuff.
from lights inside a building. So this is what it looks like. These are amorphous cells, and this one is, I think, like 44 millimeters by 30 millimeters. That's the name. And it's got 6 cells. You can even see all 6 cells, one by one in this picture. And then it's super flexible, and I'll show it on the overhead. Maybe I'll do that now before I get into it.
Let's do it now.
Okay, so this is the solar cell. So it's amorphous, so it's ultra flexible, and it's incredibly thin. It's 0.2 millimeters. It's basically as thin as a piece of paper, and it feels about as thin as a thin piece of plastic or paper. And on the back are these 2 points that you can connect to make electrical contact, and even indoors, just with the fluorescent lights here, you can see it's lighting up this LED quite nicely. So this is extremely, extremely skinny and extremely flexible, paper-like solar cell. And it can be easily bonded or soldered into your project to give yourself some power, even from indoors. I mean, of course, it'll work great outdoors, but it's designed even to work with indoor lighting, which is not that bright, to be honest. So this is the BCS series. So they can make them, in custom sizes and shapes. But the goal of this one is just to make ultra thin, ultra light. One of the suggested use cases is like a credit card type thing, something so thin that could go into a wallet, or it goes into a wearable, something that has to move around a lot, so you can't use a fixed monocrystalline cell. This one will give you about 4.2 volts open circuit, around 2.6 volts running circuit, and operating current about 30 microamps of current. So yes, these are very, very small and thin. They don't give you a lot of current, but depending on your circuit, you might be able to either charge up, a super cap, or use a, buck boost converter or whatever to convert that ultra low amount of current into something usable. You can get these in custom sizes, even a circular size, customizable number of cells. So if for your product, if you need a lot and you don't want to cut it down to size, of course you cut this with scissors. But let's say you're like, I want to come with a particular size, you can get them customized. And so what this reminded me of was, when you had a solar calculator, and, I had one of these and they were great. I actually preferred it to the battery one because the battery would always die. But with the solar one, you sometimes have to hold it up to the light for a few seconds to kind of get the internal capacitor charged. But I found that they worked quite well. And that's the same idea here, is that this is for ultra low power electronics. It's going to have to be designed to use a solar panel. But of all the energy harvesting techniques that I've heard of, like, piezoelectric or thermal, solar is kind of the most inexpensive, reliable, and well understood. People who are always like, oh, I want to charge something based off of the motion of a person. It's like, that's actually really hard to do. And piezoelectric, usually you have to press a lot harder than you think. It's not very comfortable. With a solar, it's trickle charging, but there's always going to be light around. So, if you can work within the constraints of the low current, you're good to go. For people who've never used solar panels, they're kind of weird because they're diodes running in reverse, basically. Instead of, of IV curve going the opposite way, they go the positive way because there's positive power going out, not going in. And the operating curve does change with light levels. So this is a diagram from a Linear Tech MPPT controller, and it's not for this panel, but you can see the green line as you get more sunlight or ambient light, you see the curve gets taller and taller and taller, how much current you can get out. And then the blue line is the max power. And so you notice that there's this kind of this sweet spot called the max power point, which is kind of at the tip of the curve, just as it starts to sink down. Using a solar panel, you can't just treat it as a voltage source or a current source. It's kind of in the middle. You want to, it'll give you a voltage, but as you draw more and more current, the voltage will start to collapse. So what you want to do is use just enough current that the voltage has started to collapse a little bit. That'll give you the max power. And so one thing to say is if you're going to use these little solar cells, you do have to design your circuitry and your power supply to take advantage of this and use it intelligently. This is the curves for this particular panel. You can see the different illumination levels based on lux and the voltage and current you're going to get out. One thing you can do is just design your circuit to use, under 30 microamps of current, depending on what your circuit is. Like a calculator, you can design an ASIC to use less than that much power. Second thing is you can have it trickle charge a supercap or a secondary battery, a rechargeable battery. It slowly trickle charges the battery capacitor. When it gets to a certain voltage, it turns on your circuit. And then it runs. That can be good for IoT where, a little sensor or something lives in a room. It only has to send the temperature or humidity data every 10, 15 minutes. So it slowly charges, 30 microamps at a time, charges up the supercap. Supercap gets to 3 volts or 3.5 volts, whatever. The circuit turns on, depletes the capacitor while it's submitting that data or sending that data over a radio, and then turns back off. Third option is to use something like this. It's like a specialized chip. It's going to cost a little bit more, but this is designed specifically for energy harvesting. It is designed to use these ultra small, ultra thin solar panels. You can't just use an everyday LiPoly charger chip. It has to be something that knows how to deal with, again, this IV curve where the max power point is as the voltage start to collapse. And usually you set the max current or the max, the cutoff voltage using resistors or capacitors on these chips, and then they can charge up a battery for you or a supercap for you. And they'll do it in a way that's a lot more efficient than just a plain trickle charger.
Okay, and in stock. And good news, there's 32 of these in stock, and they're available on DigiKey. Here's a short URL.
Sorry, there you go.
And then the part number.
But very neat. I do see. I will say, people who want to use, who want to do IoT projects, they want to make smart rooms. Solar panels really, as long as you have the power supply designed for it, they last decades. They're very reliable. They just work off of whatever light they've got. Just be aware that they'll give you a lot less current than you think. Whatever amount of current you think you're going to get, it's about a tenth of that. But as long as you can work with that, you're good to go.
You sound like an advocate for Big Sun.
I am.
The lobbyists.
The bigger sun.
Big solar.
Big lux.
Okay, so that's Ion MPI. I'm going to do a couple questions immediately afterwards. Then we're going to go into new products because there's a couple questions that have something to do with this. So we'll see you on the other side of this, and that is this week's Ion MPI.
On MPI.
Okay, I'm going to add these questions real quick, and then we're going to do new products. So would you be able to recharge a small LiPo with a solar cell like that? And then how would it work with a tree ornament? You let the tree lights charge the ornament. I think that would work.
Tree lights are really, really dim. You really want to have ambient lighting because it has to hit the whole front of the panel. But yes, you can use this to trickle charge a small LiPo.
Yeah. I think on a tree, because a lot of people have it in front of a window.
Yeah, the window would be a good.
And then you charge up the things all throughout the day.
Option.
That'd be kind of cool.
That'd
Okay.
be kinda cool.
So let's remind everyone, Resurrections, it's code because we're going to watch The Matrix. Tonight, let's do new products, Ladyada.
Okay.
Sing your song.
It's time for new. It's time for new.
Okay, first up, I'm going to do my little bit, which is go to adafruit.com/gift certificates because it's probably too late to get that gift. Get a gift certificate. It works. They never expire. We don't do anything weird. We don't harvest the email. We don't spam the person getting it. You can print out. We have like a printout that you can do. Get a gift certificate from Adafruit. It's great. Adafruit.com/gift certificates.
You're really selling it there.
Well, it is. It is. It's just like, what should I do? And a lot of people are like, what do I get someone who likes electronics? So it's like, get them a gift certificate from Adafruit.
Yeah.
Let's kick off the new products. What's this?
Okay, we've got a felt carrying case. So this is, I think, designed for either a book or a keyboard. But you know what it fits really well? The Raspberry Pi 400. If you have a Pi 400, you want to keep it safe while you're moving it to and from school or a workshop. We have a zipper case, but this felt case was inexpensive and works very well. It has a little a flexi strap piece and some nice felt. That is, it's not waterproof, but it's water resistant.
It's a nice case.
It's nice and padded. It will keep your keyboard or your Raspberry Pi 400 nice and safe.
Next up.
We've got another Molex power cable pair. So you get a socket and a plug, and they plug together. And I think altogether it's 20 centimeters, 10 centimeters each. This one has 8 connectors. And, they just match up. You have, red on one side, red on the other, pink, yellow, yellow. Great whenever you have something that needs, a little bit of current, a little bit of power, and you want nice free-hanging connectivity. I like these super fine pitches, 1.25 millimeter pitch.
Yeah, these are nice. Okay, and then next up we have a tour of boards that are somewhat related to each other, sort of, kind of.
They're all similar, but they're not the same. So this is the ESP32 S3 dev board with 8 megabytes of flash, and I can't remember how much PS RAM.
Yeah. Let me check the product page.
I think 8 megabytes of flash, 8 megabytes of PS RAM. So this is the most you can get with the S3. You get 2 USB ports, 1 native, 1 reprogramming, plugs into your breadboard or whatnot, and it's just a very powerful S3 board. The S3 is very new. So just be aware of that. We're adding CircuitPython support. I think Arduino support isn't there as of this video, but it might come in over the next few weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the S3. It's the
Next
biggest dev board. Now this is a C3 dev board. The ESP32 C3 is a RISC-V chip, and so it has a lot fewer pins. I will warn you about that. This does have 8 megabytes of flash, no PS RAM. The C3 does have Arduino support and ESP IDF. I don't know that it's supported in CircuitPython. I don't think it's supported in MicroPython either. We're not really planning on adding CircuitPython support, but there is Arduino support, and it's RISC-V. If you want to play with RISC-V, this is kind of a great way to do so because you get like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth with it. It's got the little USB serial uploading and debugging port, and you get a couple GPIO pins. Again, not a lot of GPIO pins, but enough that you can start experimenting, and of course it's got wireless as well.
All right, and then this is a giant T-shirt sized one that you actually wear.
It looks like a T-shirt, but this is the ESP32 Waroom DA. The DA stands for dual antenna. So this is an ESP32 Waroom. So it's the not the S2. It doesn't have native USB. It's like this classic ESP32. But it has 2 antennas, and it has the antenna selector built in already. So what it's designed for is to always get good antenna performance, even if your normal PCB antenna isn't aligned with the source. Because, one antenna, if the signal happens to be perpendicular to it, you're going to get very low signal strength. But if you have 2 antennas, you'll be perpendicular to one, you're going to be right in line with the other. So you're going to get really good signal strength. You're going to have a much better time, and it's basically for free. You just have 2 antennas and a little selector. So it's a very inexpensive way to double the chances of having a good signal strength for your ESP32. It does have this funky shape though. So just you'll watch out that your PCB layout will work with this design. But I think the antenna switchover is probably done transparently for you. So you can just treat it like an ESP32 and get better signal strength for free.
Okay, and then the star of the show tonight, besides you, Ladyada, our team, our community, our customers, and everyone hanging out is...
Yes, it's finally here. Another Cutie Pie, the third in our Cutie Pie family, the ESP32 S2 Cutie Pie, which brings so much espresso this week. This is the ESP32 S2, which is a single-core Tensilica Wi-Fi processor. It's a lot like the ESP32, but it doesn't need a USB to serial converter chip, which means we can make it so small that it fits in something that's like smaller than a quarter.
This is the tiniest board ever.
It's so small. So there's an ESP32S2. There's a USB Type-C connector for uploading and powering. There's a STEMMA QT port, so you can plug and play, add I2C sensors. It's got 13 GPIO total, 11 on pads, and
It's so small we have to force the overhead to refocus.
I know, it does
The
not.
overhead is shocked.
Okay.
How is this so small?
It's so small. So you've got analog. I think almost every one of these pins has analog, but there's like 4 dedicated analog here, 2 pins that are labeled for I2C. There's a second I2C port on the STEMMA QT, so you've got like another 2 pins. Hardware UART, hardware SPI pins on the high-speed SPI port, which means that these 3 pins cannot do analog. They're the only 3 pins that don't, because the high-speed SPI is worth it. It's amazing. It's like, some ridiculous megahertz, like 60 or 80 megahertz. So to connect to TFTs or some devices, very, very high speed. You've got the boot button and the reset button. The boot button can also be used as a user button. There's a regulator. There's a little NeoPixel right here that glows rainbow or whatever. You can use it for signaling. There's a ceramic antenna on the top. And on the bottom, you've got the ESP32S2 chip with the crystals and passes, a lot of 0402s. The antenna goes out here. And here is 2 more pads for battery input, and this is diode protected, so you can have, we're using the C-Chow pinout, and they kind of decided that the 5-volt line was output, not input, and so you'd have to use a diode and whatever. But basically, if you want to connect a battery up, you can connect to these 2 pads, and they're they're diode protected, so when you plug in USB, you're not going to damage the USB or the battery from that. And it's got castellated pads, and it's super small, and you can use it with Arduino or CircuitPython. It's got 4 megabytes of flash and 2 megabytes of PSRAM. So I was waiting to release this until I could get the chips that had the PSRAM, because that 2 megabytes of PSRAM is
And
so
it's
handy.
Wi-Fi. This is amazing.
So tiny.
And it's
so
Wi-Fi. Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's in stock now. I even put in a little bit right before the show to
Yeah, they're
make
in
sure we
stock.
had some.
Okay.
So pick some up.
And that's no problem.
New.
Okay, let's do a couple questions as we do the top secret. So go over to discord, adafruit.it/discord. We'll get to those. We're going to do some top secret in a sec. So Ladyada,
Yeah.
the questions that happened during the chat. So for the CP2102, the C3 doesn't have USB natively. That's why CircuitPython is a ways off.
It doesn't.
We have a version. We have things that we're working on.
I think it does have. It does have some. It says it has built-in USB, but it's not native USB. It's got like a built-in JTAG or something. So yeah, we're not really planning on supporting the C3. Our next chip is probably the S3.
Okay. Next up, looks like the form factor. Does the BME 280 run hot on ESP32S2 Feather? The HT20 on the Funhouse tends to run 5 degrees Celsius higher than the off-board temperature sensor.
So anytime you have any sensor on a board, it's going to heat up. However, if you look at the ESP32S2 Feather tutorial, we show how you can turn on the board from deep sleep, read the sensor, send data online, and then turn off the board for a couple minutes so that you never get an ambient temperature increase.
Okay, we're going to do one more question, then we're going to do top secret. QtPy, ESP32S2 design questions. The Learn Guide says up to 6 volts. Can you use 4 AA or AAA batteries or stick 3 batteries, since new batteries output a little over 1.6 volts each?
That's right. If your voltage, your new fresh batteries are over 1.5 volts, you just want to make sure that the total number is under 6.
Now, I'll answer this one. Adafruit, will you please have a happy as holiday season as possible? Yes.
Yes, sure.
We're doing really good. I mean, we're pieced together and skidding across the finish line, all scars, but who wants to arrive at the destination perfectly pristine? I like my cracks and scars. Okay, let's do some top secret. Okay, Ladyada, first up, I'm going to show a picture, and then we're going to do 3 videos, and then you're going to show something. Mm-hmm. So first up, we saw Liz.
Yay,
Hey, Liz.
it's Liz.
Undisclosed location somewhere, but we did. We saw Liz.
But you can tell if there's a new carpet.
So you'll see
sample
Liz
coming.
somewhere, and we're all messed up. You can tell.
Yeah,
that
safe.
guy wasn't in the background. Shame
Yeah.
on him. And then I'm going to show 3 videos back to back to back of some upcoming stuff, and then you're going to show the Scorpio board, so stick around, folks. All right, Ladyada, what is this?
Hey, this is how we're going to test the CircuitPy ESP32S2s. I'm using a Raspberry Pi to do the test, and that's because I can run ESP tool really easily over USB to program using the built-in DFU bootloader. And I use a GPIO pin to toggle the boot and reset lines to do that. And ESP tool compresses the firmware, so it's really the fastest way to upload a bunch of code to an ESP32. And then I run a self-test, and one thing that I do, because it's got an antenna, is I have an access point created on the ESP32S2 CircuitPy. And on the Raspberry Pi, I do a WPA CLI scan, and I look for the access point and then check the signal. My hand's in the way, so it's 50, but usually it's about 40. So that means the antenna got soldered on correctly, and this has passed test.
All right, Ladyada, what is this?
Okay, so I'm just about to get ready to release the ESP32S2 TFT feather. I actually ordered PCBs and then realized that I was not depowering the I2C pull-ups to peripherals, which meant they were getting back powered, which changed the low power draw. So now I'm like really testing the heck out of it. I got this big chunky PM2.5 sensor connected to I2C. You can also see I'm testing turning the backlight on every second. And here's my power graph, so you can see the big power spike when that PM25 sensor turns on. And then this is low sleep mode, which is about 1 milliamp, and then deep sleep mode, let's zoom all the way in, is about 80 microamps, which is as low as you're going to get. That actually is the lowest power deep sleep mode that you can get on the ESP32S2. So this is ready to order. Be in the store soon.
All right, Ladyada, what is this?
Hey, there's a lot of stuff going on my desk right now. First up, I've got this MCP 23017 breakout, and I got my tester PCB. I have a new thing now where when I order my PCBs from JLC PCB, I get the prototype for the panel, and I also get the tester PCB at the same time. So that way I put it together, and then I just wrote some code that it's really fast, but it actually tests like every pin and GPIO and the I2C address, and it beeps when it tests. And then I'm also checking out some samples of pink PCB. So we got our first batch of pink PCBs from PCBWay, but our standard PCB house can also make pink PCBs. So they sent us some Pantone chip like samples. These are actually PCB but with the color. So going forward, we'll have 2 possible suppliers for these beautiful pink PCBs. Don't forget, free with your order $99 or more.
Okay, and then you have a new board that we're coming out with, Scorpio.
Yeah, it's the RP2040 Scorpio. You came up with this name. It's an amazing name.
Oh, so it's an amazing board.
It's an amazing board. It's an RP2040 feather with 8 GPIO that are buffered outputs to give 5-volt logic levels. So this would be really good for driving many addressable LEDs. It's also got I2C port and a little NeoPixel and some cool graphics and 8 megabytes of flash here. But with the PIO peripheral on the RP2040, it's really good at driving addressable LEDs very, very fast and using DMA and not requiring any weird timer stuff. You kind of just set it and forget it. It's very, very cool. So this is a board specifically designed to make that easy to do.
And that's top secret. You can choose to answer this question if you wish. So is there going to be a stemma connector on this board?
Yes, there's
maybe,
one.
Maybe vertical?
Yeah, there's one right here. But you can see on the guide.
Like a vertical, it'll be like a stinger.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could look like a little scorpion thing.
Okay.
You can check out, it's hard to see here because it's so shiny, but check out the blog post.
All right, I'll answer this question from the other chat. Should I? I should do this. I should be like, hey, look, we're doing questions in Discord.
Oh, yeah, we're doing questions.
We're doing questions in
Hey,
Discord.
we're doing this questions in Discord. Yeah,
Discord. We're doing questions in Discord. Journal 32,000. That's good. .id/Discord. So this one I'm gonna break my rule a little bit because I see this in the other chat. Amateur radio ham operator would like to learn more about the makerspace. This may be a tough question, however. Where do I start? Is there a good starter kit? How about RPI? So I would not start with a Raspberry Pi. I would start with something like the Circuit Playground Express or something that is Arduino compatible. Circuit Playground Express does it all. So I would start with that because that'll get you into like, oh, I want to do a bunch of projects really fast, where I think when you're coming from ham radio world, it's more like, here's a bunch of protocols first. And the projects in the maker world, take a look at learn.adafruit.com. There's over 2,600, hey, kind of ham radio sounding, 2,600 guides. Check those out. And then later on, I would say, as you get more advanced, there's a collision course with a lot of the ham radio stuff, a lot of Raspberry Pi stuff, a lot of Arduino, CircuitPython related stuff. There's LoRa radio stuff, but that's what I would do. I'd start with that. Okay, everybody likes pink.
Great.
Everyone likes pink.
Yay.
Have we ever thought of doing tutorial videos for YouTube? Yeah, check it out.
Lots of tutorial videos on YouTube. Check it out on
YouTube.com/Adafruit.
So many.
We have
shows.
tons. However, YouTube does not promote and spotlight women STEM companies. It's like a fact.
Yeah.
So, because we've asked, and they're just like, well, if you did like makeup tutorials. So sometimes it's hard to find our stuff. You'll find plenty of like lizard creatures and birds aren't real stuff, but it's harder to find STEM stuff. It just is. And I hope they continue to work on that. I know there's some good people working on it. I hope they continue to do that. Okay, next, BA for buffered outputs and PIO. Question, it's so neat that you show boards, you make to test new upcoming products. Can you share how long in general those takes to code and hardware design?
It depends on the difficulty, but the good news is that I build on existing ones. So it usually takes me 2 or 3 days on some of the more tougher testers. A lot of times it's trying to figure out how to test what I'm trying to test. But an easy breakout board like that MCP 23017, designing the tester took like an hour, and then I ordered the PCB right after I ordered the panel. And then, because I kind of know how to test it, it's pretty straightforward because I just test the GPIO. And then writing the code for it also takes like, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah. And then, one of the things that someone mentioned, just to get back to the previous question, for the person asking about, like, they're coming from a ham radio background. So if you start with a Pi, there is like an OS, there is like a ton of stuff you have to do before you even get started.
Yeah.
Where if you pick up a little bit of Python and you do things REPL and you do things in like CircuitPython, you're instantly doing stuff immediately, and you're seeing what you're doing, and you're not compiling, you're not waiting, you're not downloading, you're doing everything instant. So that might give you that like special 5-minute, like, oh my gosh, I got something done, I want to keep doing more. Okay. Yeah, Bluefruit version is a good one to try too. Okay, and I think, Ladyada, I think that is, I think that's it.
Okay. That's wonderful.
Okay. That's our show.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We will see you next week. Special thanks to Jesse May behind the scenes. He's doing a bunch of stuff in our chat. Oh, we'll do one more. Any plans for a new Power Boost 2000C with more amp output for NeoPixel projects?
That's harder than you think because there's not a lot of batteries that will give you the current you need. So it's not an easy problem to solve. It isn't just like get a bigger chip. There's a lot of
good answer
underlying issues that come up with that.
Okay, and again, special thanks to all of our team, the community, everyone who's purchasing stuff. When you purchase stuff tonight, for sure, it's going into our bonus and profit sharing account because that's how we do stuff here. Do check adafruit.com/free. We still have some pink boards. You get free stuff. Do it, do it, do it. Just be aware of the shipping deadlines. We thank you so much for sticking with us over the last 18 months and more. We've been doing this for like a decade. We're going to go and watch The Matrix because it is what one does if you run an electronics company. I'm also going to take home my record that I got. This is the reissue of Hackers, and this is the one that came out later. So there's more stuff and bonus materials.
More Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, and there's a lot
More
of stuff.
Johnny Miller.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, and there's some extra bonusy things. And so this is going
More
to...
putting that thing in that place that they put that thing that one time.
Yeah, and then the other thing that came in the mail is the Princess with Power Tools. This is calendar for 2022.
Starring some of our favorite
Yeah.
princesses.
So this
With power tools.
is 12 inspiring women and individuals in the STEM and the trades. So you can check this out and more. And
Got a Scarlet Witch in there. What's going on?
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I guess she's technically a Disney princess. I guess you could say that.
The lines are getting blurred.
I mean, they're owned by Disney now.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We'll see everybody next week. We're going to keep doing this. Thank you so much. Have happy holidays. Please
Happy
stay safe, everybody.
holidays.
And, continue to be wicked smart.
Okay, bye.
All right, everybody. This is an Adafruit production. Here is your moment of Zener.